Japanese mothers spend an average of 2 hours per week away from their baby in the early months. American mothers spend 24. That's not a typo, it's a 12 times difference. And it's not because Japanese mothers don't work or don't have help. It's because of one word that doesn't even have a direct English translation. Sodhar found it. It changes how you'll think about closeness forever. The word is skinship. It's not officially Japanese or English. It's a word Japan invented by combining the two because no single word in either language captured what they meant. Skinship is physical closeness as the primary language of love, not hugging, not kissing. Those barely exist in typical Japanese parent-child interaction. Skinship means constant contact, carrying, co-bathing, co-sleeping, being physically near almost always for years. Here's where it gets visual. In most Japanese households, the whole family sleeps on one futon, mother on one side, father on the other, child in the middle. The shape this creates resembles the Japanese character for river, Chinese letter, 3 lines, side by side, flowing in the same direction. This isn't a temporary newborn phase. It often continues well past preschool age, sometimes for years. Western parenting culture moved in the opposite direction generations ago: separate cribs, separate rooms, sleep training as early as possible. 2 completely different starting points for how a child experiences nighttime safety. Researchers actually measured this. 59% of Japanese children co-sleep with parents 3 or more nights a week. In the United States, just 15%. That's nearly a 4 times difference in something as basic as where a child falls asleep. And it's not isolated to nighttime. Japanese mothers carry their Barbies almost everywhere, by sling, by carrier, on bicycles, even skiing. The baby is rarely set down and left alone in a room. Constant proximity isn't seen as overprotective. It's seen as simply what a baby needs. Western parenting has spent decades worried this kind of closeness would create a clingy, dependent child who can't self-soothe. Japan's outcomes suggest something different entirely. Despite, or maybe because of this intense early closeness, Japanese children are often sent out the door completely independently by age 6, walking or taking trains to school alone. The closeness doesn't seem to prevent independence. It might actually be building toward it. So here's what you can actually borrow from this without rearranging your entire sleep setup tonight. Pick one moment of pure physical closeness and protect it daily, no matter how busy the day gets. It could be 10 minutes of skin-to-skin time after a bath. It could be carrying your toddler instead of pushing the stroller for one short walk a week. It could be lying beside them, not talking, just present for the last 5 minutes before they fall asleep. The Japanese principle isn't more hugging. It's more uninterrupted physical presence. Pick one daily window. Protect it like an appointment. Do not let phones, chores, or errands take that specific time. Skinship isn't about quantity of touch. It's about consistency of presence. There's real biology behind why this matters. Studies comparing Japanese and Scottish mother-infant pairs found Japanese mothers maintained physical contact with infants as they fell asleep and responded immediately when infants cried upon waking, described as stronger infant-centeredness. The Mary Sue, this constant physiological co-regulation, body to body, appears to build a nervous system that expects safety as the default state, not something that has to be earned or requested loudly through crying. Compare that to a baby who sleeps separately in a different room and has to cry loud enough to summon help across a hallway. That baby's nervous system is learning something different. Safety is intermittent, has to be signaled for, and arrives after a delay. Neither approach is wrong in a simple sense, but they build genuinely different default expectations about the world, starting in the first months of life. This is also why Japanese parents rarely discuss baby-led independence training the way Western parenting media does. Japanese parenting researchers classify the approach as facilitator, style, relying on affective ties and empathy rather than parental control, where mothers tend to follow the infant rather than control it. The baby's natural rhythm leads. The parent's body simply stays close enough to respond to it instantly, almost before the baby has to ask, "There's something worth sitting with here." A culture with no real hugging or kissing as primary affection has somehow built one of the most physically connected parent-child relationships in the world. Love was never really about the gesture. It was about uninterrupted presence, being there body closed day after day without needing words or specific displays to prove it. You don't need to co-sleep in a river shape tonight to borrow something real from this. You need one protected window of pure physical presence, repeated daily, that nothing interrupts. That's the actual mechanism, not the specific sleeping arrangement, but the consistency of closeness underneath it. So here's what Sodhar wants you to remember. Skinship was never really about touch for its own sake. It was about a baby's body learning over and over, day after day, someone is always close. That lesson, repeated enough times in infancy, becomes a foundation a child carries quietly into every relationship they'll ever have. Pick your 10 minutes today. Protect it. That's the whole secret behind a word that needed 2 languages just to exist. Comment below, does your family co-sleep, or did you growing up? I want to hear your experience. I read every single comment. Cherry Blossom,